Hey, welcome everybody to season 2, episode 3 of the 7 Minutes of Better Selling podcast. I'm your host of Colin Lake, and after 35 episodes, you probably know I'm also the president and founder of Developing the Next Leaders. As many of you know, we are a firm that's on this mission to enhance the lives of sales executives, sales teams, and sales organizations. And how we do this is through coaching and building training programs and learning development programs for all of them to drive them into a place where they are better at what they do. We have learned that when people are performing things at a higher level, they tend to like doing them more. And when you like doing what you're doing, you're able to continue to build this virtuous circle of being great at it. So, really excited about today's show from a logistics perspective. Although our title says 7 minutes to better selling, we're about 7, maybe 8 to 12 minutes on the live broadcasts. We take it back to the editing floor, we do our work, and then we push out to the world the pearls of wisdom from our guest. And today we have a real special one. So we have Jimmy Pomerance, and most of you who know Jimmy Pomerance know him as Jimmy P. So Jimmy P, welcome.
Great. Thanks, Colin. I apologize for the last time we were scheduled. I apologize to everybody who was ready to tune in, but the hurricane here in South Florida had other ideas.
Yes, I get that. We all understand that. And so Jimmy P is the president of Impact Speakers, which is a presentation, communication, and sales skills company. He has worked with organizations all over the world. He has had a strong focus in the financial services industry, but many of you know him just because of his wonderful reputation of doing some great things for all types of people and all types of organizations. So Jimmy P, grateful for you being here.
Thanks, Colin. It's obviously, like I said, it's great to be here.
Yep. Okay. So my question is, how do you get to this? Like, you've been doing this for a really long time, operating at a really high level with a really strong reputation. How do you get from like where you are 25 years ago to where you are today with this, like I say, strong and continually building business with this wonderful reputation?
Yeah, when you say 25 years, it does remind me where I came from. Listen, I had always been in sales, never set the world on fire. Finally, I met some people that I learned a structure. I learned a way to present, and just was with them for a couple of years, but then went to a nationally known company, was the national sales training director for them for many years. So I did speeches for them. I trained all of their salespeople. I worked with marketing to help craft messages so that the message that was being spit out to the salespeople was consistent. That happens a lot where it's not. And then at one point, I just thought, why not do this on my own? I just jumped into it with 2 feet, Colin. I had no idea what was going to happen. All I really needed was somebody to do a quick web design. I had a computer, I had a cell phone, obviously, and it just took off from there. I know it sounds so silly because a lot of people get into a business and there's a big startup, there's a big ramp up, and I didn't have that. As you said, I was blessed to have a good reputation in the industry already, and I just hit the ground running, as simple as it sounds.
So let me ask you this. So I listened all the way through there. It almost, not almost, it does sound like each thing that you did, you picked up a certain skill set and created it, further skill sets in your brain, and then we're able to help train and coach on them. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I always harken back to and I don't know if anybody remembers the show American Idol. I think it's still on, but in the days of Paula Abdul, people would sing, they would do a cover song, and she always would say, wow, you took that song and you made it your own. I think
So I'm having we lost the audio there. I don't know if that's on you, Jimmy. Simon, is that on both of our ends? That's of Jimmy. We lost your audio, Jimmy. Nope, can't hear you yet. All right, so maybe pull off the earbud. I don't know if that's what it was. But the takeaway is like, from a listener's perspective, is as we progress in our careers, there's all these little opportunities for learning events. And many times, because we're plowing so hard forward and trying to execute at our highest level, we forget about all these wonderful little nuggets that we can pick up along the way. Jimmy P, what he was suggesting there had not done that. He'd done the exact opposite of that. He paid attention to where he was going and then also all the things he could learn along the way. So that was a great share, Jimmy P. Jimmy P, are you back with us in terms of us being able to hear you?
It's muted.
Okay, yeah, you're muted now. If you can just hit unmute.
All right, that's what. So, by the way, this should teach everybody out there something. Always have a backup.
That's right. So, did you hear me? Yes, I just followed through on your comment there. All I was saying was that, like, pick up these little wonderful lessons along the way, and this shows a great example of there's going to be little tidbits here that Jimmy's going to share that we're going to be like, oh, that's how I get that in there. So pay attention to that. So that was great, Jimmy.
You always have to adapt to the situation.
That's exactly, yes. I mean, that's it's not the easiest thing to do, which is it's a great transition point. So the whole sales world, and this is like the last 10 years, is changing. And in particular, the salespeople, the salesperson, are the reputations are declining slowly. Like the position of sales, that like car salesman moniker that like comes with salespeople, I think continues to expand. And so my question to you is, in this world where people don't have as high opinion of a salesperson as maybe they could or should, how do you take that reputation internally? Like, how do you take that reputation and say, okay, I've got to sell myself every morning when I wake up to perform at my highest level and continue to perform at my highest level? How do you convince yourself or train yourself to do that?
Yeah, I think, it's funny when you say the word salesman, I think of words like pitch, those kinds of things.
Right.
And, we don't pitch anymore. As you said in my introduction, I teach communication skills, presentation skills, sales skills. And I always put sales last because to me, all sales is persuading somebody into taking an action you want them to take. And we did talk about, I was in the financial industry, and the vast preponderance of the business that I do now is in the sales, is in the financial arena. But what I teach is universal. I use some semblance of what I teach every single day to get a better room in a hotel, to get a better seat in a restaurant. Listen, in my seminars, I actually teach people how to get a 9-year-old to clean their room. You get a 9-year-old to clean your room, you can get a client or a prospect to do anything. And so I think what it is, it's passion. We've all seen that individual who gets up in front of a room, or he's on virtual, even on the phone, and they say, this is something I'm going to talk about now that's near and dear to my heart. Mm. And I know nobody in the audience is going, go on, I can tell you love this. I would venture to say there's nobody who's ever met me personally or professionally, but certainly professionally, whether it's in my 2-day seminars or whether I'm standing up in front of an audience, who has ever said, I don't think he believes in what he's doing. Never, because I do have that passion in the morning. Every single morning, if I'm working, I swing my legs out, I sit down, I put my feet on the ground in an empty hotel room, and I go, showtime, out loud. Sounds silly, corny, but you do whatever works for you.
That's exactly right. So, that you just put a thought in my head. That's your why. That's your why. Like that, your passion. You're passionate about this. But how do you get that passion? Do you know, what drove you to be that passionate?
I guess it was when I first started in this industry, and I would start training people that were just on the phones. And by the way, that was a terrible word, just people that were on the phones. We need the people on the phones, maybe more than the outside salespeople. So I would train the phone people. As I watched them ultimately get outside sales jobs, and then segue into being a divisional manager, perhaps, and a senior manager, national manager. That's when I realized, okay, passion works. And the most important thing, it's contagious. Passion is contagious. That's why this guy that talks like this, look at the audience and they're all sitting there like this. But if you get up there and you believe in what you're doing, you believe in what you said it at the very beginning, you got to like what you do. I ask people in my classes, I ask people in my audiences, how many people in here love what you do? And you get some people that raise your hands. My God, I envy those people because that's me. But the people that go, I'm thinking, okay, and I ask them, if you didn't raise your hand with passion, demonstratively raise your hand, what am I going to tell you? And you hear everybody in the room go, oh, find something else. And I think that's what it is. Listen, you and I know each other long enough that I know you have that passion. You bring it every single time you talk. Even when we're just having private conversations, we both, folks, if you can hear us, there's always that passion. The brain is always moving. We're always thinking. We're always brainstorming. So I think you just have to have it, and it's contagious.
All right, so I'm gonna dig deeper. I want to give you. I'm not going to give you an individual scenario because I don't know this individual scenario, but I'm going to ask you to put yourself into this scenario. There's tough times running your own business. There is bad news that gets delivered. There's late nights and hard situations where passion is lower on the scale. How do you find it in those times? Like when it's really hard to find it, how do you find it specifically?
I mean, you're talking to the wrong person because that's when I ramp it up. Listen, COVID hit. Keep in mind, I travel for a living. I go out, I do speeches in front of people. I teach my seminars in front of people, and COVID hit. And I was a technological dinosaur. So I literally had to reinvent myself to start doing virtual and teaching virtually, doing my 2-day seminars virtually. And so, you know what it is again? It's making it your own. We talked about that already. So if you're asking me, how do I tell other people to ramp it up when they're feeling that feeling of lethargy or depression or whatever, I can't help them. All I can say is you just got to look at I guess what it boils down to is, what good does that do? You have to do your T diagram and figure out, okay, I can be depressed, I can go poor me, woe is me, or I can, what is the old adage, turn lemons into lemonade. And I've just always turned lemon. I come from a house like that. I come from a family like that, where my parents were like that. My siblings are like that. It's just turning the negatives into a positive. So if you're asking me, how do I help other people do that? I can't. If you're asking me, how do I do it? I just have always done it. So I do try to help others when they get despondent or get in those situations. I try to help them. Everybody knows they can always reach out to me to be an ongoing resource once I've spoken at a group they participated in or a 2-day seminar. And that's all I can do.
As I just replay this in my head, and I'm going to give you the last words here, and then I'll ask Simon to pay attention to what you're saying so we can put up your website and your email address and how to get in touch with you. But what drives you, what gives you that passion is I'm taking people who were on the sales desk and looking to move to a level that is way higher than they ever imagined getting there. Like, I'm helping them get there. Maybe that's why and how you found your passion. Like, when it's really difficult, I say, I help that person get to where they ultimately wanted to be in their aspirational dreams. And so that's maybe what I'm hearing. So I'll ask you to wrap up on that thought, and then remind everyone how to get in touch with you and how to find you.
So I mentioned the phone folks, the desk people, but when people walk into my room on my seminars, I've got all different walks of life. I've got the people that are already good, who can get better. I've got the people that are terrible. And don't forget, you get people that walk in the room, they're terrified. Public speaking is the #1 fear in the world, worse than dying. Seinfeld said it best. He says, look, the #1 fear is public speaking. #2 is death. So next time you go to a funeral, just imagine you would actually prefer to be in the box than performing the eulogy. So I've got all walks of life in my sessions. You've got the zealots, you've got the people terrified, and I teach them a structure, a discipline, in a way to compose and present that gives them confidence. At the end of my 2-day seminar, literally sometimes there are tears in that room, and they're not tears of sorrow, they're tears of joy, because people are overcoming a fear, a phobia. They get confidence that they didn't have before. Oh, by the way, they get closing techniques that they never had before, just by being more specific. So it's the most exciting thing in the world. Why in the world would I stop doing this? We talked about this earlier. I will stop doing this when I enjoy doing nothing more than I enjoy this. And I'm nowhere near that right now, Colin.
Yeah. It's like Tom Brady. So why am I going to stop when I'm still loving what I'm doing and I'm performing at a really high level? And that's personification of you. All right. So Jimmy P, tell everyone where to find you, how to get in touch with you.
Well, several ways. You can go to my website at impactspeakers.com. By all means, go ahead and send me an email, jimmyp@impactspeakers.com, or just give me a call or text. It's just 954-288-5467, which won't surprise you that 5467 is Jim P. So I'd love to hear from any of you that have any questions, or you want to talk to me about seminars or speaking engagements, whatever. Please reach out. Love to hear from you.
Last thought, find your passion. Let that passion continue to fuel you. And that's one of the best ways to sell yourself. Good selling,
Absolutely.
everyone.